Hello and welcome to the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we talk about experiences shaping exceptional lives. And I'm honored today to have as a guest with me, Mr. Lloyd Romeo. And Lloyd has an amazing story that you're going to I think if you're a techie at all like me, if you're into, marine life and global, um, environment and exploration and adventure, this is the show for you. This is going to be so much fun. Thank you for joining me on the show today, Lloyd.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm quite honored to be here.
Thank you. So I'd like to ask you a little bit about your background before we get into the big adventure and kind of unveiling what that is. Since people don't know yet, we're going to talk about an exciting adventure that you were on towards the end of the show. But I want to kind of bring you into this and let everybody know who you are, because this is a local Temecula Valley show. And so I want people to know you and to get to know you and in your background here in Temecula. So with that, how did you come about to be in Temecula?
Yeah, well, it was kind of a long story. I'll give you the short version. Uh,
Okay.
I grew up in New York. I went to engineering school back there, and after school, we're talking about the 80s here.
So where
The
in New
aeros.
York were you? We're in New
I'm on
York?
Long Island.
Long Island. Okay. Long
Yeah,
Island. Okay.
Long Island. Right.
That's where the iced tea comes from, right?
That's right. Yeah. Careful on how many of those. So yeah, what happened was, aerospace industry was taking off, and so was the high tech industry was happening in California. So I put together a, 69 Camaro, and I just said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drive it all the way across country over to California and get involved in the high tech industry. And so that's what I did. It took me about 3 months to put the car together, and it took about a month and a half to drive all the way across because of all the stops. And then I ended up in California and started working in the high tech industry.
Wow. So you that's a bold move right there. I just making, creating this vision. It's like, this is what I'm going to do. Did you know anybody out here on the West Coast?
Not really. No, I had about $300 in my pocket and a car that was burning about 10 miles to the gallon.
Okay.
And so I
So did you
found
drive out what, Route 66?
no, mostly Route 10, I believe it was, all the way across, and
Okay.
but went through the Rocky Mountains was quite a thing. They stopped us for a week in Denver because they said it's impassable. And then when the snow went away, and I actually looked at what you're driving on, I was like, oh my God, you shouldn't even be driving on this if it's wet, let alone ice.
Right.
Yeah, you drove across, and it was quite an adventure. I enjoyed doing it. It was something, um, something you do when you don't have much and you're young, because face it, the trunk of a 69 Camaro just doesn't hold that much stuff.
Right. And you don't know what you don't know. So you just go
Right.
for it.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy move, but I was like 20 something, so
Yeah, why not? No
at that
family yet?
none.
Okay. So and then where did you land when you got here? Where did you end up?
I ended up in San Juan Capistrano, and then I moved to um, Mission Viejo, and then eventually Huntington Beach, and that's where I started working for Opto 22. Great company. Got into industrial controls, which I
Mhm.
really enjoyed. Making computers actually do something useful. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to
So
share my screen here with them.
sure.
I pulled their website up.
There you
So
go.
tell us about what you did at Opto 22 and what they
Uh,
do.
Yeah, they make a lot of industrial control equipment, and they started off with solid state relays, and then they quickly moved into computer control, and they make some great stuff. Very reliable, very robust,
Hmm.
and quite frankly, a lot of fun to program. I had a great time, programming these things. I was working in the tester department, so I got to work with the new products, programming them,
Hmm.
making them work, make sure everything on those things worked. And they test everything twice. So I really had a great time getting into all that stuff. And like I said, it must have been fun. I was there for 35 years, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I had
I
fun
was
moving
there for a
around.
meeting a while back and I got to meet the founder. Um,
Mark Ingman.
yeah, what a blessing that was. It's really, he's such a seems like a calm, gentle soul.
Yeah, yeah, but he's driven. I mean,
Yeah, very
he
much
has a
driven.
vision, and yeah, he makes things happen. I admire his outlook, and yeah, he sees a lot of things that a lot of folks wouldn't see. It. He really he plotted a great course for the company.
So what were some of the applications that you worked on?
Well, most of the, like I said, I was doing the testers. So we would build testers that would test the product before it went out. And like I said, everything on that product had to be tested. Every possible data path, feature, everything had to be tested. And so, like I said, we go through it twice.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I got to, dig into like each product, all the nuances and things. And, yeah, those products would go into everything from food processing to water management, refineries, you name it. The amazing thing about it is such a very broad, diverse customer base.
Mm.
And we really enjoyed. Yeah, I did tech support for them for a little while, and you learned about all this stuff. And here, right here, you have one of my favorite applications, which was James Cameron's submarine.
Hmm.
Okay, there at the bottom of it, you'll see James Cameron was in that ball right there, and he was in the pressure cell where the rest of it was exposed to the pressure of the ocean, and
Mm.
yeah, this is the inside of the ball, and then if you keep going down there, you see at the bottom of the green submarine there, yeah,
Right
right
here.
there, yeah, he's sitting in there. That's actually kind of a liberal interpretation. He's actually in a much smaller, he's cramped in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that whole submarine was really run by an Opto 22 controller. I mean, nothing did anything unless that controller said to do so. So he was flying the controller and the controller was flying the submarine.
Wow.
Everything from propulsion, life support, lights, you name it. And there he is coming back up out of there. Yeah, it was quite an experience, and I was glad to be part of it. I wasn't actually out there, but I was helped out, and we knew about a couple of our friends that did a lot of work. There was a guy by the name of Ben Orchard that actually was out there doing
Wow.
that sort of.
That's fantastic.
That's him. Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, good old Ben. And that's the submarine right behind him. It's kind of an unusual submarine, is in that it stands up instead of, laying on its side
Yeah,
like
it's not like the
every
normal. It's
other.
like this.
Right. Yeah, a vertical sub. Yeah.
Very cool. Wow, what an adventure.
Yeah, I talked to Ben about that. That was, and he kind of inspired me. It was like, hey, he got to do this. I kind of like to do something similar.
Well,
You know.
yeah, how did that must have kind of piqued your interest enough so that when your brother asked you to get involved with the adventure we're going to talk about here in a bit, that was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, if he gets to do it, I mean, look at that. He had an interesting time, and Ben's a very proactive, go get him kind of guy, just relentless. Kind of guy that if there's a problem, he'll figure out a way to solve it. I mean,
Yeah.
just a phenomenally resourceful kind of guy.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's a great story. Plus, and then you've got all these other amazing applications, I'm sure, um, to that highlight Opto 22's, you know, success here in Temecula Valley.
Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff. I mean, like I said, the customer base is so wide. I mean, you can see we're working with turbines, storing fruits and vegetables, refrigeration systems,
Hmm.
water management. You mean you name it, and they seem to be involved in it. It's really kind of amazing, and it's very refreshing when you worked on tech support. You never know what industry type folks that you're going to be talking to. It could be anything and everything.
Yeah. Well, it's like was it like a programmable logic controller, right?
Yeah, we didn't usually use that particular term, but yeah, it's basically an industrial programmable controller that could do just about anything.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
And you were with Opto 22 for what, 20,
30,
35 years, you said?
35 years. Yeah.
Wow. So what happened to cause you to make you move from that? It must have been something significant. You've
Well, after
retired now.
35 years, I mean, that was a good run. I really enjoyed working there.
Mhm.
And yeah, I didn't leave easily, but my brother came up with this company that he was starting. And, it was like, wow, we're going to go in the South Pacific and do a search for Amelia Earhart. I mean,
Okay. How
it's
did
like,
he break the news to you? What was that conversation like?
well, it kind of started off with he was doing magnet fishing. Okay. I mean, he was out there during the
Magnet
pandemic,
fishing?
magnet fishing. And, he was pulling up all kinds of crazy things, parts of bicycles, parts of safes, parts of this and that. And he's like, I've always wanted to see what else is down there. There's a lot of different things. And,
So that
you're sharing.
curiosity.
Yeah, it really did. And then, he'd been intrigued by the Earhart story for quite a while.
Okay.
And he decided that, he'd like to start a company to do undersea searches. And what better way to start than to look for Amelia Earhart? And I was
Seems
like,
like a big bite to take from
it
going.
was.
he
Well,
he's obviously had success in his life doing what, real estate?
yeah, he was doing commercial real estate. And I think, again, he had had a good run. He had done a lot with that. And I think he decided, it's time to do something else, end that chapter of his life and do something that, you know, something actually I think he was more interested in. And so
Okay.
he bought this piece of equipment from Kongsberg over in Norway.
Hmm.
And about six of us all jumped on an airplane and cruised down out to Norway, Oslo, Norway, and then out to Horten, Norway. And we took a 4-week class in Norway in December. And
What's the
it's
name of the company?
Kongsberg,
Can you spell that for me?
Kongsberg.
Kongsberg Maritime.
That'd be the one.
So let's pull that up. I'm going to pull up their website and we'll see what that looks like here. Ooh, that looks like fun. So I'm going to share the screen
Sure.
for Kongsberg. So you went to Kongsberg with your brother for 4 weeks and you guys took their training class.
Correct.
And what does Kongsberg do exactly?
It's kind of one of those companies that, they're very big in that one niche that they do, and they do a lot of electronics for maritime applications. I would say, at least three-quarters of the ships out there probably have some sort of Kongsberg equipment on there for navigation,
Okay.
radar,
Yeah, I've heard the
sonar.
name.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, they're out there. And it's probably the largest employer of all in Norway. Of course, Norway's not the biggest country in the world, but still, yeah, it's very significant to them, and they make some great stuff. Propulsion control. You can see thrusters. I mean, yeah, if it has
Wow.
something to do with maritime electronics, they're probably in it.
So where would you took training on what?
The Hugin 6000.
So it would be under H?
Okay, that seems reasonable. Of course, it's not
Yeah,
there.
it's not there.
Maybe if you look under AUV.
Let's see. AUV. Azimuth. Nope.
Hmm. Product support. Yeah, I don't see Hugin
It's
6000. Yeah, maybe do a search on Hugin 6000.
HUBIS.
HUG. HUGIN. I'm sorry. Hugin
One
10.
more time.
Uh, N. And just need an N there.
Hugan,
Yeah, there you go.
6,000.
Correct.
Let's see what that comes up with.
Here we
Ah, there we go.
There you go. Yeah, it looks like it's just getting ready to submerge.
So that's the robot that you took training on to learn. What did you exactly learn how to do?
Yeah, yeah, we did everything as far as programming it and some about the maintenance on it. Um, it- Basically, it has two computers, one in the nose and one in the back.
Hmm.
And the main issue that we needed to learn about was the navigation. So the computer in the front, it has sonar, so it can, for navigation purposes,
Hmm.
and for depth, and then to collision avoidance. And then once it submerges, well, it starts off with GPS, so it knows where it is. Once you go underwater, the GPS goes away, and it uses
Okay.
inertial navigation. And so basically, you
So
program it.
there's no cables or anything tied to this. It's all
It's autonomous.
autonomous. That's amazing.
Right. So it goes down, and then you give it a bunch of waypoints, some coordinates, and it goes from coordinate to coordinate, and it'll scan all the bottom
Okay.
through
So
those
you just
coordinates.
pre-program it. It just does a grid, like a
Correct.
search and rescue grid in a specific area.
Correct. Yeah, it's what we call mowing the lawn. And
Okay.
you program it to stay 60 meters above the bottom of the ocean.
Okay.
And usually we were about 5,200 meters down. And so it would cruise along 60 meters over the bottom, and then it would come to a corner, turn, and then come back. And like I said, it's very much like mowing the lawn. And then it would gather all that data that it scanned from
So
the
it's
bottom.
sending out is a sonar.
Correct.
So it's a sound signal it's sending to the bottom, and getting the reflection and taking the data from all the differences on the it. Now, how does it know what type of material it's looking at?
It doesn't. It really doesn't. Yeah,
Okay.
that's something for you to figure out when the data comes up.
Okay.
Uh, Basically, if you look at it, they can tell if it's soft or hard by, how hard a return it got.
Uh-huh.
Rock will send back a sharper image. Mud or sand will be a little bit softer, but
Mhm.
that's for the human operator to discern.
Okay. So there's a skill in kind of determining or
You
deciphering the data that comes back.
There really is. So, yeah, and you have to make a bit of a judgment call. If, you have something that you got a 90-degree hit on, you're going to get a better return than
Right.
if it's sloped.
Right.
Also, if you have a muddy thing, you get a lesser return. So you have to make a judgment call on it. Having said that, generally it wasn't too hard. You figure out, okay, yeah, that's a rock. That's probably a muddy bottom.
Mm.
Found a lot of volcanoes, believe it or not, down there. It was kind of interesting. Um, so
Wow.
yeah, you in generally, you find a lot of rocks near these volcanoes, and then the question is that a man-made object or is just another rock? You have to
Yeah,
make that
right. Well,
determination.
that's what you're searching now. Your brother and your team acquired this submersible sonar unit, submarine submersible, basically,
EV, yeah.
to do this. And that how much was that? It must have been quite an investment.
Yeah, that's a $7 million piece of equipment.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not, yeah. So he basically started a business around this thing. He
Okay.
got out of one business and it's like, okay, now we're going to do this business. And it is a real business. He is actually leasing this thing out at this point.
Uh-huh.
So it is a piece of capital equipment, if you will.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull up the website, Deep Sea Vision. This is the company that he founded,
And that's him, right?
and that's him there.
That's his back. Yeah.
Okay, and there's a Hugin 6000 out
That's
in the
one of my
water.
favorite pictures of the Hugin. Yeah, that's actually from Kongsberg. And that is our boat there from a drone that we brought along. And
Okay.
then there you see the data as the raw data as we're pulling it um, out of the AUV. We'd actually pull the data out of there on a big hard drive, and then we'd flash it up there, and the computer would crunch on the data. It's amazing how much crunching. Yeah, if you can just pause right there. You can see those things. You have to see if there's an airplane in that stuff. And
Yeah, how do you
this is,
how do you do that?
yeah, with the guys with experience, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are guys that had found if you ever watch like um, National Geographic,
Oh,
uh,
I
uh,
loved those. I watched every single one when I was a kid.
okay, well, the new ones they have drain the oceans,
Oh
and
yeah, okay. I've seen a couple of those episodes.
some of our guys were on actually were instrumental in some of the drain the ocean episodes.
Oh, that's
Had
cool.
found, like in the Loch Ness, they had found a speedboat that had done a water speed record back in the day. And
Okay.
these guys were good. They were really good at what they did. I was yeah, in awe of because they were out there tweaking the sonar frequencies and the distances because you want to you want to optimize, we want to cover as much area as quickly as possible, but
Right.
we don't want to miss the airplane. So those are kind of two opposing things. You
Hmm.
go fast, you don't get enough data. You go slow, you get too much data, but you cover any area. So he did a good job of tweaking that and getting some. So we were scanning about 800 meters on either side of the unit, and then of course the bottom. So there's actually three active sonars doing scanning, and
And
then
you're
one
how far above the surface or the bottom?
about 60 meters.
60.
Correct.
Okay, 60 meters. So that's about what, 18,
About 180 feet, yeah,
180 feet?
roughly.
Okay, so I can picture that. And then how deep is that?
Well, generally around 5,200 meters, which is about 16,000 feet.
60. Give me some kind of relative idea of what the pressure is like at that depth in the ocean.
It's something like 8,700 I'm sorry, 8,700 pounds per square inch.
So a square inch having 87, that's
It's 8,700 pounds. So that's
it's
about
like
three or four
4 tons
elephants.
of weight
Right.
on 1 square inch.
Right.
Wow. That's
Before
ins
I went, my daughter asked me, says, just to be clear, you're not getting in this thing, are you? I'm like,
Well, there was a story, right? What was it last year where a bunch of people went down and they got
they got squished.
they got
Yeah,
squished. What a sad tale.
yeah, it was. And it's, yeah, it's a warning to those of the type of forces that work there. Yeah, I mean,
Very
8,700.
high.
Yeah, and I don't think they were quite down to 8,700 pounds per square inch, but obviously enough. Yeah, even
Is
half of that
enough.
is still a lot. There is one picture. Let me see if I can find it of what that. Yeah, here this is.
You want to share a screen?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
I'll
ahead.
show you what this looks like. Um, Share, and then here we go. Okay, so what we did was we put this is like a cup of noodles. Uh,
Your nice car there.
oh, I'm sorry, I got it on the wrong side. Okay, hold on. There we go.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and that's a cup of noodles, and that's what it looks like before. And then we put one inside the unit,
Uh-huh.
and after 36 hours being at the bottom at that kind of pressure, it kind of squished it. So
Squeezed all the air out of it.
it sure did, and uh, yeah, it was one of those things, cheap entertainment. When you're out there for 90 days,
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
more than
that's
happy
fun.
to grab anything that looks like fun, and that was one of them.
Excellent. So, your deep sea vision, this company, Deep Sea Vision, you guys, let's go back to that for a second. You have all kinds of amazing, interesting technology or applications you can use this technology for.
There are a lot of different there's definitely a lot of applications for this. Yeah, the Amelia Earhart thing is sort of like a demo thing.
Uh-huh.
It shows, hey, look at what we can do.
Right.
And a worthy
Definitely
project.
got you. Let me share this. This is incredible. The news, I went on Google. I did a Google search. Amelia Earhart plane. I just put that in the search bar. And it comes back with all this stuff you guys did. That you got, I mean, the story coverage that you've gotten from this and like free publicity. it's not free because you've invested heavily in the company and in the whole adventure to get that data. But wow, USA Today, Wikipedia, CBC, um, Garden and Gun,
Yeah,
USA
there's
Today,
Anthony.
National Public Radio, uh, just all kinds of New York Post, QZ.com, Kansas Reflector, YouTube, CNN, New York Post, Daily Mail, PBS, Popular Mechanics, CBS News, People, everywhere, New York Times, BBC, NBC News. I mean, you guys made the big time here with this story.
Yeah, I didn't realize how
Wall Street Journal.
I didn't realize how big a splash it would make.
Oh, it's insane. You guys, it's like it's everywhere. And it's just I'll just pick one here. I love the well or the Smithsonian Magazine. Those guys are good.
Hmm.
So researchers found Amelia Earhart's long lost plane question mark. So you've even left some intrigue there. It's like this isn't absolutely indefatigable stake in the ground truth, but there's some, still mystery around it, and which calls maybe for another trip.
Absolutely calls for another trip. And there's definitely room for some skepticism. And like I mentioned to a couple of folks, I believe, some skepticism is healthy.
Yeah.
We need to go look at it some more and see if that's it. We need to go down there with a camera and, and just, really get pictures and stuff. And,
See what's going. Now, where were you when this moment happened? When you came across this image, because this is what we're showing here is the image that you believe is Amelia Earhart's plane at 16,000 feet below the surface of the ocean, sitting
yeah,
there on the bottom.
yeah, we were coming back. We were actually a little, we didn't think we had found anything, and what happened was one of the sonar engineer, who was also a pretty good guy with computers. He had gotten through some corrupted files and had I'm not sure exactly how he massaged them and got images out of it, but he got it. He retrieved the data out of there,
Uh-huh.
and this came up, and it was kind of like, wow, hey, you guys, what do you think? Like, hey, maybe this thing, we found something after all here. So,
So were you
yeah.
able to mark the location?
Oh yeah, we know where it is. Well, when we say we, I don't personally know. I didn't really want to know because you can torture me. I don't know, but
I know nothing. You pull a Schultz. I know
yeah.
nothing.
Well, if it got out, I mean, he'd like to keep it kind of confidential, understandably.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't want to be even. I want to be above suspicion that somebody leaked it, and so I have that.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. I wouldn't expect for you to divulge that here on my show either. But it's an interesting little tidbit. So what was the emotion around that moment when you found this? Your data
Yeah,
engineer massaged the data, and he comes up with this image.
it changed things quite a bit. I mean, it's like, it's a little bittersweet because we really wanted to go back and take a look. I mean,
Uh-huh.
even though we've been out there for so long, but hey, but we really couldn't. We were out of resources. We were out of, time and fuel and,
Mm.
all this stuff. And we had another contract we had to go take care of. So it couldn't happen then. But, um, like I said, a little bittersweet, but we'll get back there. I feel
Yeah.
fairly confident that we'll get
So
back.
you guys had all this. I'm gonna pull up your Instagram, and there's some really cool shots in here that I think might be fun to go over. So this is your brother,
My
correct?
brother and his wife, yes.
Very nice. And
Melissa, yeah.
where was this picture taken? Do you remember?
That was at the Explorers Club in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, that's quite a club. Actually, we did have talked to some folks from the Explorers Club on the very last week of the trip out there looking around. And uh,
Okay.
yeah, it's a good fun. The Explorer Club is, they do a lot of promotion of different exploration. They have a lot of contacts. A lot of people are part of it, different astronauts, I think, I don't know if Sir Edmund Hillary, but folks of that nature were part of it. I think even Teddy Roosevelt was part of it. There's the
That's what I
Explorers Club.
love about New York. There's some amazing, like the New York Athletic Club. My grandfather was a member of that back in
Mhm.
the early 1900s.
Oh, wow. Way back
They're
there.
still, of course, there in New York City. It's
I
very
like to plug that
exclusive.
there's also the Adventurers Club up in LA. Yeah, and they have also, Buzz Aldrin spoke there, a
Uh-huh.
lot of folks, and again, they promote. And there's some cooperation between the Adventurers Club and the Explorers Club, but it's the same overall sort of thing, except, East versus West Coast, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, they do a lot of great stuff, and they have a building there yeah, it's up off the freeway there, up at, that doesn't explain anything. But anyway, up there, off the 10, I believe it was, up in LA. And they're a
Okay.
great
Yeah.
bunch of guys. So we
Very
had a good
cool.
time up there.
And then a little trivia I'm reading here that this globe next to your brother and his wife are that was the Kontiki globe, they call it. And that
Oh,
Thor Heyerdahl, um, if you're into marine history at all and adventure, you know the name Thor Heyerdahl and
yeah,
Kontiki. There was a
yeah,
movie made about it.
right. That's the one where he was on that balsa wood raft, I believe, going
Yeah.
from South America out
He
to the
wanted to
island.
prove that it could be done.
Right. Yeah, that was a gutsy move because he's on a
Crazy gutsy move. Definitely part of the Explorers Club um,
right.
caliber adventure for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was yeah, I mean, we were out there in the middle of nowhere and, but we had a high-tech boat. He was out there on a balsa wood raft out there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, amazing. So, but he adventures like that have paved a way for adventures like yours.
yes, oh yeah, we owe a debt to those guys.
Yeah, which is cool because you with the Explorers Club in New York and the ones in LA, those clubs keep that history alive and keep us all thinking and knowledgeable about what the possibilities are and the opportunities we have.
Yeah, push
I
the
think we
envelope
know
a little.
everything, but we don't.
No. Yeah, they're the same way. They got all these artifacts from way back and, and then the book, I was like, oh, look at this book, and there's where Buzz Aldrin, signed his name. It's like,
Yeah,
you know,
very cool. What an
yeah.
amazing piece of history. And it's just you can, I love that stuff. So here's some images from when you were out on the ship.
Yeah,
These are
that
sharks,
was
right?
that was a great time to not go swimming.
Ooh, this is cool. A newsreel.
U.S. heroes of the air in desperate flight. On the last lap of a round-the-world flight, her plane comes down in the Pacific.
First of all, this is real. She actually exists. And then second,
Amelia Earhart, U.S.
Very cool. Oh, you're in this one. Preparation, I've often said, is rightly two-thirds of any adventure. And there you are, preparing.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of prep. There was about a year of prep to get this all to hang together.
Yeah. Never interrupt someone doing something you said couldn't be done. Wow. There's bold leadership.
There's no question.
You have a really cool picture you showed me earlier. I'd love for you to share that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to stop share here. Can you share that shot that you have?
Sure. Here we
This
go.
is this is an amazing shot. It's of a young Amelia Earhart, and well, you explain it.
Yeah, this is Amelia there before the trip, of course. Um, yeah, it's sort of her girl next door picture. This was a black and white picture, and I put it through an AI program online and had it colorized, and I was impressed with how well it actually turned out. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
There's another one here. Here, let me get that one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That
again,
one's
colorized. I just wasn't expecting the results to be quite that good. And here, let's do one more. Yeah, and the colorized, even though you've got the purple from her, her clothes reflected off
Mhm.
the airplane. But yeah, that's a very good picture of her. I suspect this is probably only a year before her flight.
Yeah.
And then one guy that I always like to bring up because I think he's something of an unsung hero here
Okay.
was Fred Noonan, her navigator.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he was a world-class navigator. He had laid out all the routes for Pan American Airways over the Pacific.
So
So
Pan
he was
American Airways was,
that was the way to get out there. They had all the seaplanes. They're
yeah,
plane.
they're gone now, of course, but they were one of the first international globe circumnavigating commercial airlines in the world.
They were they were like an elite, very kind of aristocratic, and they always like to claim first. We were the first ones to fly nonstop from here to there, and
Right.
they really did do a lot of firsts, though. I mean, and they started from very humble beginnings. They were flying from Key West over to Cuba, I think it was, or South
Mhm.
America, but they branched out quickly, and so they had these seaplanes that flew from, I believe, San Francisco, Treasure Island, there in San Francisco to Hawaii, and then they would actually go all the way out to Hong Kong and Samoa and Japan. So they really started the global reach.
So I'm gonna pull up a quick shot. If you'll stop sharing for a sec,
Okay.
I'll pull up a picture of, if I can find one that has the Pan American. This is Boeing. The Pan Am logo on it. I'm not finding it. Pan Am Clipper. Ah, there we go. All right. So I'm going to pull this up. So there's a shot of is that the plane?
That's one of their planes. That's the one they were flying in the mid to late 30s, and then in the 40s, the government appropriated them for the war. But yeah, it
Ah,
was one of their more majestic planes, I think. It was the Boeing 314.
so let's go with, um, come on. So there we go.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful plane. It's, got like cabins and sleeper areas, because,
Looks like a
you're going,
boat that flies, a huge,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you were going, yeah, they were only going, let's see, 250 miles an hour or something like that. They weren't going very fast, 200 miles an hour, something like that.
yeah, there it is, Pan American Airways. So that's how they were getting around at that time.
Right.
Very
Yeah, my
cool.
dad was, he worked for Pan Am at the time, and he was a mechanic on those
Oh,
planes.
wow. Okay.
Then he moved up to flight engineer.
And then Amelia Earhart's navigator, Mr. Noonan, you said?
Noonan, yeah.
What was his involvement with Pan Am again?
He was a navigator for me. He had laid out all the routes
Okay.
from the whole Pacific, really. He was, like I said, a very gifted, world-class navigator.
Yeah.
And so, since my dad was part of Pan Am and Noonan was part of Pan Am, what we did was we put a Pan Am sticker on the AUV. So if you look at the top
Oh,
there,
yeah.
there's
Very cool.
yeah,
You have a shot of that?
I do. Here, let me see if I can share.
Okay. Kongsberg, DS. Oh, there it is. Pan Am.
Right
There's the
there on
Pan Am
top.
logo right up in there.
Yeah. And then we had a little figurine of Amelia Earhart on the side.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was kind of neat to, pay tribute to all those folks.
That's fun. So let's see. I'm looking through. Yeah, there's the let me share this. There's the logo on the side. And who's this gentleman?
This is John. Good guy. He was the mechanic. He was really the guy under the hood. Uh, when something needed to be fixed or turned around or, he was the one that actually made it all happen. He
Okay.
was the mechanic that you could rely on to keep the engine running.
Hmm.
And he always was out there making it happen. And yeah, God bless him. He was up at god awful hours, working his heart out, making this thing go. Because, 36 hours cycles don't always happen, in the middle of the day, so
Right.
sometimes, 2 o'clock in the morning, hey, we got to get out there and make it happen.
So what
And
do you
he
mean
was there.
36-hour cycle? Explain
Oh,
that.
yeah, I'm sorry. I should explain that. So basically, the batteries on the Hugin were good for 36 hours.
Okay.
And so it goes down. It takes an hour and a half to get down to the bottom of 5,200 meters. It would
Okay.
cruise around there for about, say, 33 hours, and then another hour and a half back up. So that's the 36-hour cycle. So you bring it up, you pull. Yeah, here we are retrieving the unit. You pull the batteries out. These are big batteries. They weigh like 300 something pounds each, and there's two of
Wow.
them. And so you pull those out, you swap them with a fresh set that you'd been charging the day before,
You got two sets of batteries and you just change them out.
constantly swapping them. And so, but it's not an easy thing. You're out there hoisting these things out of there, and then the boat is constantly rocking. So you got 300-pound batteries swinging back and forth with
Yeah.
the rocking of the boat, which is kind of cause for concern. You know, Call up the captain,
Wow.
fix that. This is the computer inside the AUV right there.
Okay.
It's not much different than a Dell laptop, to be very honest with you, or a
Wow.
desktop, I should say.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's a, titanium sphere that it's in. You can only see the bottom half of it there, but then there's another half of the sphere that goes on the top, and that's what handles the 6,000 potentially meters of water on top of it.
So it needs to be a sphere because why?
Yeah, that distributes the load the most efficiently. So yeah, you need a titanium
It's kind of
device.
like if you hold an egg, a raw egg in your hand and you squeeze it around the egg as hard as you can't crush that egg.
Right. That's
And
exactly it. Yeah.
so it's that distribution of pressure.
And now it amazed me that the two halves of the sphere go together and there's no seal in between them. They have it so nicely machined that
Really.
the two pieces fit together and seal.
That's really smart because those seals can fail.
Right. And I'm not sure what kind of a seal you would need to handle 6,000 meters of pressure. But,
Yeah.
yeah, they've got this worked out. And
Wow.
another reason why Kongsberg does what they do, they've figured that kind of stuff out.
So let's see. Where are you guys? That's you and your brother, right?
Correct. And then there's John there
John?
and our Indian friend Mahesh and one of the ship crew, Manuel or Matthew, and then Corey. And I'm not sure who's behind him, Corey's head there. But anyway, yeah, we're in Tarawa. We had met up, rendezvoused with the boat in Tarawa, and uh, yeah, we got together there and it's like, okay, we're ready to go hit it, so we
Okay.
boarded the boat. And then we had to come back to Tarawa because we had some welds that had cracked. And so we needed to come back to Tarawa and have some welding done.
Okay.
And I think by the length of our beards, we must have been out at sea for a while.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, you guys kind of forget about shaving when you're out there, I bet.
well, you're kind of swinging back and forth and you got this blade and you don't really feel like being there anyway. And it's kind of a contest to see who grows the longest one. And obviously John's winning over there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's see. We got the business end.
Right. This thing, it's getting ready to go out there.
So it's amazing. The weather looks really nice. What was the temperature?
It's like in the 70s, the temperature or weather was actually, we were very lucky. Well, actually not lucky where we are. It was just always very nice.
Yeah.
We were really happy. Yeah, the waves and swells were generally not that bad, only a couple, 3 meters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so the weather was really, really pretty good. There was only a couple few squalls where, it got rained on, but that wasn't a big deal. Oh, by the way, that NR 16020 right there.
This right here?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same numbers. That's the numbers off of Amelia's plane.
Ah, that's so cool. You guys put a lot of thought into this. Got her Amelia's logo. So this is a hunt for her legacy and to find parts of her journey, her history.
Right. Yeah, we really would like to uh, nail it down as to exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We think
Well,
we know, but
it's been on people's minds for a long time, and there's been a lot of energy and resource, put forth to find this. You're
right.
not the first to have attempted
No,
this.
that's right.
So, I mean, this is a big deal. There it goes.
Yeah. And then she goes, and then yeah, she kind of bobs like that, and then about this point, you'll see the propeller will start spinning. You'll see a
Uh-huh.
little trail behind it, and the
How
nose
fast
will
does she
start.
go when she's on task?
Let's see, on task down at the bottom, she's doing about two and a fraction, maybe 2.4 meters a second.
Okay. That's a
So
pretty
it's
good
moving
clip.
along pretty good,
So who's this?
Yeah, this our little buddy here, kind of a comical looking character. Huh?
Yeah.
What happens, I think, is every now and then you do get a boat out there, and a lot of times they're fishing boats.
Right.
And so I think some of these birds, like our friend here, I think they're like, well, if you're doing any fishing out here, where's the fish?
Yeah, where's the fish? All right, I'm
And
kind of hungry.
and he's not finding anything. So in a second, he says, well, nice seeing you, but adieu until later. Get some more fish. I'll drop by again.
Yeah.
And so,
So was that an albatross?
I don't think so. I don't really know though. I mean, yeah, I really don't know what kind of bird that is.
Albatross? Yeah.
He was pretty docile though. You
Yeah, it
could pretty
probably
much
doesn't have
walk.
it. You'd be probably like, who are these? What are these creatures?
Yeah,
Can I
who,
eat
who are
them?
you guys? Because you don't see too many of these guys out here.
Yeah, that's fun.
And plus, I assume that he has to go. He has to fly most of the time. He doesn't get it to land on land or a boat very often.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is where he's actually pulling the well, actually, I guess he's inflating some stuff, but right there, that small not the big sphere, but the smaller one there, right? That's where the data was being held.
Oh,
So
wow.
as
So
soon as
that's
it would,
important.
yeah, as soon as it came up, that's Craig. He would jump in there and grab that thing and run upstairs and download all the data. There'd be I don't know, a terabyte or two of data on there.
Okay.
And that's what we're looking at and on those set of screens where we're looking at all that bronze colored stuff.
Wow. And on board that ship, it's almost like either a kitchen or a surgical theater. I mean, it's super clean in there.
Right, it is. That is basically what they did was they took a one of those shipping containers and they got it
Oh,
all lined with stainless steel and they got all the tools hung on the side and all the
okay.
compressors and hydraulic pumps and everything to make it all go. And
So
so
you can take
everything,
that with you when you leave.
right, it comes right off of the ship. It's mounted or they got some mounts welded onto the ship, but they can take that right off. And
Very
so we
cool.
had 3 shipping containers, one for the unit here with a cradle in it. And there's also the crane to pull the batteries out.
Uh-huh.
And then there's one that has spare equipment, which, by the way, was really important several times. You had spare
Well,
parts.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
That's not an
yeah, we
easy
did very good.
environment to be in. It's very caustic and the salt air and everything wants to degrade and get broken.
Yeah, well, and we were running it, right to the edge of its, limits. We were running it, within the manufacturer's, you know, recommended operated, but we were like, you run it and then turn around, and so it was at the bottom of the ocean more than it was up at the top, a lot more at the bottom.
So was
So
Kongsberg interested in kind of following what you guys were doing? I wouldn't imagine they'd have many customers in the world doing this kind of thing with their products.
you're right. They actually did send one of their engineers with us for the first month or so.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and that was Harold, one of the guys that was actually looking at the data there. He was still working for Kongsberg and when he came along with this, and very much an engineer's kind of engineer.
Mm.
Very good at what he did. He was a good data computer data guy because he understood what he was looking at, and he did a lot of well, let me show you that he came up with this picture here, which is let me
This is fascinating. I consider, I don't even think, I'm not, I forgot that we're recording this for our
oh
show. It's
oh
just so
okay,
much
well,
fun.
yeah, but he came up with this, and there was a lot of computer time crunching this to get it to look like that.
Okay.
And this is one of my favorites because up at the top there, that's Howland Island. That's the island they were after.
Okay.
And the you can see at the bottom there, that's what we call I was telling you before about mowing the lawn.
Mm.
That's the going back and forth.
Okay. So
And
that's where the Hugin was working.
that's where it was actually scanning, correct? And so that's only probably about maybe 300 some odd square miles, and we did about 5,200. So that's about 3 dives or 2 or 3 dives worth of data.
So 5,200. Give me an idea of what that means. How big, how many square miles in a city like, I don't know, San Diego?
Uh, that's a good question. I don't know offhand.
5,200 square miles. What does that kind of mean?
Let me see. Da, 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 da. And I have one of my, oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. No, us.
So I've got some shots here of,
Covers 502.
say again, please.
Sorry. Yeah, 502 square miles. So we covered more than 10 times the size of LA, the city of LA.
Wow. Okay, that puts it into some perspective. I mean, that's a huge area. How long
It's a
did
lot of area.
you, how long did it take to do that?
That was about 90 days.
Okay, so was that one trip? You were out there for all that time
One,
on one trip.
one trip for 90 days. Yeah. And yeah, constantly that 36-hour thing.
So you were on
Bringing
that
up.
little boat for 90 days with those. How many were on board with you?
There was about 12 of us all together.
Okay, so you you probably got to know each other pretty good.
Got to know each other. Yeah. Fortunately, everybody got along pretty well. You got to know what people liked and didn't like. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what the hot button issues are, and you know what everybody's responsibilities are,
Yep.
and yeah, everybody got along well. Not to say we didn't have our spirited discussions about when and where to search next or whatnot, or the how important a given target was, but yeah, we were, and then boy, when we got off onto a an island, which happened about 4 times, that was. That time was well loved.
Yeah, I bet. So Tarawa, you were on Tarawa a couple times, you said. That name's familiar. I remember it from the World War II battle stories.
Right. And there's still some artifacts laying around there, some old pillboxes, bunkers, some guns, old guns.
Mm,
When I say guns, I mean, large, like 8-inch shell guns, that were there. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff laying around. An old tank that, has been sitting there since those days. So there's all kinds of things.
okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
bet. That's interesting. That makes part of the journey. To me, it would give it more flavor and just that experience, be able to visit that part of the world that has that much history to it.
Yeah, I was really glad we had a couple days there to kind of walk around and get used to something that you're walking on that isn't swaying back and forth for a bit.
Yeah. Do you feel like after you get off, you feel like you're still swaying?
Oh, I was still swaying.
Yeah, you're like you stand in the mirror and you're looking at yourself on dry land and you're going back and forth like this.
I felt a little, yeah, I was sitting there trying to stand straight and I was actually still swaying back and forth in spite of myself.
Yeah, I actually felt I was on a couple of cruise ships, for a week, and even that small amount, when I'd get off the ship, I'd feel kind of uneasy for a while.
Yeah, it kind of messes with your sense of balance.
Yeah. What is this that we're looking at?
Okay, this in the control van, there was a couple of computers that would keep you updated as to what the AUV was doing. And very so often, about every hour and a half or so, the uh, the unit would send a burst of data acoustically up to the ship.
Okay.
And since it's going through water and acoustically, there's only so much data you can get. It's very limited. But the depth is a big one.
Uh-huh.
The
So
amount,
it's like sending Junior out on a mission, and it's like you really don't know where Junior is.
yeah, you really don't. You're kind of trusting them a little bit.
Yeah.
So the boat has what they call a high pap on it, and it's basically the ears of the boat underneath the water. And it's a very sophisticated device. It's kind of amazing, actually, probably made by Kongsberg, um, I believe. Anyway, what it does is the data comes up, and the high pap actually knows about what direction. And from the echo response, it can kind of tell you how far it is. So
Okay.
there's a guesstimation about how far or where it thinks it is and where we think it is.
Hmm.
And usually they're within about 50 meters after 36 hours, which isn't bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
it's
there's currents down there and all kinds of things that mean,
some, yeah,
yeah.
some, not real bad, but
Yeah.
there is some, and sometimes worse.
Yeah.
But the big one is that we want to know how much battery it has left. Okay. And so if it gets too low on battery, we'd call it back up. And there was one point where we found out that, it really read about run out. And so it'll drop its weights and pop up to the surface.
Okay. So it knows, got enough intelligence inside to go, up, I'm done, and it just pops up.
Well, actually, it's simpler than that. What happens is when it loses the power, the solenoids lose their power and it just drops the weights because it's out of power.
Okay.
So
Fail
it's sort
safe.
of
So nothing has to happen. It's a, what's that term? A dead man switch.
It's like a dead man switch, exactly. And so it pops up to the surface, and then it has a separate battery uh, for uh, for the iridium and for the flasher. So you can see it flashing. The iridium will actually send you an email and give its coordinates and say, "Oh, hey, I'm by the way over here. You might want to come get me." And
That's very
so
cool.
you go get it, and it's flashing. Hopefully at night, so you can see it real easy.
Yeah. Very fun. So what's next on the agenda? Do you guys have anything planned at this point?
What we're looking at right now is looking into MH370, the Malaysian Airlines flight that disappeared about a little over 10 years ago
Okay,
over.
that's another enigmatic kind of thing that's like nobody can figure out, right?
Yeah, it's another mystery that needs to be solved, and there's a lot of data. I've been kind of going over it, and there's a lot of theories and stuff, and um, you know, some of them are pretty good theories, and some of them, then there's other ones. So it's something that needs to be figured out, and it's just a matter of time. It will be figured out.
Very cool. Yeah. Well,
As in, I believe that almost everything at the bottom of the ocean will eventually be found. Anything significant will be found.
well, certainly with the likes of your brother and your crew and your amazing tools.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate to be able to get this unit, which really is an amazing. I mean, it's the culmination of decades of experience with sonar, and the science and the technology just come so far, and we're grateful that we could take advantage of that.
Yeah. And for me, I would think that it's so cool that you and your brother get to experience that together, and that, that you're still good, you must be good friends, or your family. A lot of families don't enjoy that.
Hmm. Well,
So
he likes to do these little adventures, and I love to tag along on them.
I love that a little
There's
adventure.
all kinds of stuff. I mean, this isn't the first thing that he's come up with. Like, yeah, I want to be involved in that too.
Yeah.
Everything from hikes up along the coast to different business ventures he's jumped into, and yeah,
Mhm.
he's never a dull moment with that guy.
Yeah. Very fun. So how about you personally? What's next for you?
Well, I'd like to go on the MH370 thing.
Yeah.
That's big on my list. I want to be a part of that.
Okay.
Um, I think there's a good chance I can do that. And I want to go along and do the next trip on Amelia Earhart. But I think we got to get the MH370 thing ironed up first, because that one's coming up, and there's a few um, reasons why it really should be done next.
Okay.
There's a lot of interest, and I've talked to a few folks, and they come and, hey, well, are you going to go after that? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'd like to. I really would. And there's some closure that needs to be done on that, and
Mm,
so
yeah.
that's worth doing.
A lot of families are left without answers.
Right, right.
So, I've got one more question for you.
Sure,
You got time for one more?
I do.
Okay, great. This is a question I ask everybody that comes on the show, and
Oh,
it's this. Taking a look at your whole life and looking at the boldest decision that you've made, boldest leadership decision that you've made. What was that, and what were the consequences?
yeah. Let me think about that. Boldest leadership well, I mean, just leaving New York and, with $300 in my pocket and driving a car that had 10 miles to the gallon,
I'd say that
I'm
was
not so
pretty
sure that
bold
was
move.
smart, but it was bold.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, the question wasn't how smart it was.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have to first admit, not everything I've ever done in my life is smart. Uh, there was that one.
Sometimes the
Yeah,
boldest moves have the best results because they're not really thought through.
well, yeah, I
But their
agree.
intent is to bring a vision to bear.
And sometimes you jump into things that you don't know what necessarily they're going to bring.
Yeah.
But you do hope and guess that they're going to bring something new and better that maybe you can't even imagine yet. That's just kind of go for it and see what happens. And uh, you, you know, the thing you got to be a little careful is sometimes there's no turning back. Once you jump into this thing, it's a one-way street.
Yeah.
You don't come back. But that's life.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just take your measured jump, and maybe don't measure so much, just jump.
And what were the consequences of making that decision and coming
Um,
out here, you think? How would you describe that?
I think it opened up a lot more opportunities. Um, there was certainly some self-reliance things that I learned. I mean, if no matter how bad I screwed things up, I mean, there was no going back to mom and dad. They weren't anywhere as close. So, boy,
Yeah.
you're responsible for your own mistakes, and you got to live with them.
I remember, what was that? There was an old cartoon, Hypotenuse Turtle, and he would go out and get an adventure, have an adventure, and he could always call the wizard and ask the
Oh,
wizard
yeah,
to
yeah,
bring him
yeah.
home.
Yeah, I
Help,
don't want to be
Mr.
a
Wizard. And it's
yeah,
like, oh, so funny.
yeah.
No,
Not
there's
having
no.
that is a learning experience. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You just like you got to figure it out. So you make your
You burned the
moves
ships.
accordingly. Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, it's certainly from this perspective, my perspective, it's set the stage for you to take some amazing journeys and have some real exciting adventure and build memories with really great people.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if we get out there at MH370, possibly we could do a little bit of a talk there. The internet connections were that good. I mean, I could call my wife on
Wow.
this boat, do a video call. I
Oh,
was calling today.
that would be so much fun. I would enjoy that.
Really fun. And my wife really appreciated, you look out in the background and you see the ocean and the horizon and some of those pretty clouds and sunsets and like I said, I don't know if that made up for me not being around to help out, but it certainly helped.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Well, thank you for being on the show with me today, Lloyd.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and I love answering the questions. It makes me think about the different possibilities and things I hadn't considered before. I appreciate that.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well, thank you. And hang on a sec. I'm gonna end the recording and we'll just chat for a second.
Okay.
Hang on one sec.